Hello, welcome to Check Into the Experience, the podcast where real voices meet real insights. I'm Carol, and today we're honored to have Dr. David Buchman. He is on the management side of the Hospitality and Culinary Program at FSCJ. He has helped so many students prepare to enter the hospitality industry. Dr. B, thank you so much for being here.
It is my pleasure.
Let's start with your personal journey and your passion for the hospitality. How do you become interested in the world of hospitality tourism?
I fell into this in a very strange way because this was not my original plan for my path. When I went to college back in 19, um, I studied computer science. I was going to be I was a systems analyst, and I worked in that industry for a short while, working with market research firms. But on a yearly basis, sometimes twice a year, I'd come down to Florida. I was living up in New York and New Jersey. Come down to Jersey.
Yeah.
Um, I'd fly down to Florida and I'd go to Walt Disney World and enjoy all the amazing hospitality opportunities down here. And I realized that my passion was more for working with people as opposed to sitting behind a desk and writing code,
Yeah.
which I enjoyed. But at my job ended up uh, becoming more of the interface between my team and the clients. So
Oh.
I would go to the clients and teach them new software packages that we developed, or I'd go to the trade shows. And I really loved working with people. I didn't realize then that the teaching part would lead me to what I'm doing now. But I gave up my job in New York and I got a great job at Walt Disney World, jumping on race cars in Tomorrowland. And I became an attractions host. And then I worked in the hotels and I worked in restaurants at Universal Studios. I worked for some mom and pop organizations. I worked for Applebee's for a while and really found my passion in providing hospitality, customer service for people. Then I moved into management and realized that what I was enjoying more was training and developing people. Had the
Yeah.
opportunity to go back to school and get a couple of more degrees under my belt. And then the opportunity came to me to start teaching part time at Valencia College.
Yeah.
And so I was teaching Introduction to Hospitality Management, which I still teach to this day out of the same textbook, just a new edition of it. I started teaching some business classes at Polk State College. And then this opportunity came to me to join this team here in Jacksonville full time in 2000. I was hired in 2018 to start in January of 2019. So I'm going to be starting my seventh year here,
Oh, wow.
and I just see this program is continuing to grow
Mm.
and develop, and partly because the students are just amazing.
Oh,
We have
yeah.
a great student body here.
Oh, that's awesome. But now, speaking of teaching, what drew you specifically to the teaching side of the industry?
So I love training and development. I
Mhm.
love seeing light bulbs going off over people's heads. Sometimes I like a little to really see like, bing, I get it.
Aha
Um,
moment.
yeah, the aha moments, right? And truly with being on the job with people, I enjoyed that. But a lot of people are working because they need to work, and maybe not always the right people for the job. Um, and I liked working with people like that as well because sometimes you can get them to understand
Mhm.
that this job is not about technical things; it's about personality, and um, it's about having your passionate heart
Yes.
for hospitality. In teaching at the college level, I'm working with adults who have come back to school, or folks who've been in the military, or young folks who are right out of high school, like you were, who really want to make a difference in other people's lives. I have a sister who is she's a nurse. She's a nurse practitioner, and she hates when I say this to her. But we do the same thing that nurses do. In that, we're not doing medication, But we are feeding people, we are nourishing people, we
Mm-hmm.
are taking care of people.
Absolutely.
Nurses work in hospitals, we work in the hospitality industry, and there's a reason why we use that word, because it's about taking care of people. So what I love about teaching and why this has become my passion is I'm working with people who want to make that difference in other people's lives, whether they do it in the industry, in their own restaurant, or working for someone. Even if somebody is here and they realize that management's not for them, but I want to work at the front desk and I want to make a difference in people's lives while they're here. I love providing those resources for people. And I hear back from people for years. I've been teaching now since, I don't know, when did I start teaching? About almost 15 years
Oh,
now.
that's a
And
long time.
it's just the most rewarding job I've ever had.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And in your career, were there mentors who shaped your own journey, and how did they influence you?
There have been. There have been mentors for me in different positions in my jobs. I can think of one in particular right off the bat, a man named Sam Gates, who, oddly enough, as I was finishing up my time at Valencia College, he started working at Valencia College as an
Oh,
adjunct
wow.
professor in hospitality. But he was a front desk, in charge of the front desk at the Fort Worth Resort and Campground, and that was my first management position at Walt Disney World. And he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about the technical stuff, the financial stuff. He also affirmed what I thought I knew was right about taking care of people. And a lot of that's instinctual. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make is, I can't do that for you. A lot of our frontline, a lot of our managers will say, I can't do that. That's not our policy.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, we can. There are things that we can do, and it's the Ritz Carlton philosophy
Mm-hmm.
of I can't do enough for you, and if I make you feel special, and I go instinctually, what would I want in that situation? Whether you're doing some kind of correction of some kind of guest disservice, or just trying to make somebody feel special,
Right.
what would you want someone to do for you? Put yourself in that person's shoes, and that person is going to become a loyal guest of yours. They're going to want to
For
keep
sure.
coming back. They're going to want to keep coming back and looking for you. And I've tried to keep that philosophy in the way that I treat my students as well.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want my students to keep in touch with me. And here's the main reason. If I have students who are going to go out there and become general managers of hotels and own their own restaurants, I may not have to pay another penny for hotel stays or restaurants.
Oh, that's
It's part of my
awesome.
evil plan.
I'll get you a free flight.
Right? Right?
Well,
I want to be on your family plane
Yeah.
with your flight attendant.
You're on the
Yes.
list.
All right.
well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing your experience with us.
You're
Now we
welcome.
know where that enthusiasm for this industry comes from.
It's all because I want free cruises.
Now let's talk about your perspective as an educator.
Okay.
What is the most rewarding part of teaching in this industry?
For me, the most rewarding thing is when there are students that don't trust themselves or don't realize their full potential.
Mhm.
And at the end of the semester or at the end of the program, they look back and they realize that they can do it. They can do the writings. They can speak to people. There's a student that I had once in a class, and it may have been a class that you were in, where she struggled so hard in speaking to people,
Yeah.
really struggled, and was so nervous I almost had to hold her hand through the first couple of weeks of this class. And at the end of the semester, I told her how proud I was of her because she was doing a great job. It has changed the way she works in every single other class. And whether it's a sad thing or a good thing from my perspective, but she said to me that that was the first time that anybody ever told her they were proud of her.
Oh,
That's life changing.
yeah.
So for me, the most proud moments of teaching is just that, is when I know or sense that I've made a change in somebody's life. And it goes even further than that, because now This individual wants to go out there and be a chef.
Oh,
And imagine if this individual goes out there to be a chef and is working with someone who is struggling. And if she takes the opportunity to work with them the way that I appear to have worked with her, and she's going to teach that lesson to that
oh,
person.
for sure.
So for me, my vision has always been, um, I can make enough of a difference in you that maybe you'll make a difference in someone, and maybe 2 or 3 generations down the line, they won't know who I am, but that philosophy of making a difference in people's lives will go on.
For sure.
Mm.
What has your experience been like working with the students?
On the most part, it's wonderful. Every once in a while, there's a student that gives me good stories for the rest of my career. Some students that don't want to take any responsibility for themselves. And maybe by the end of the program they have, but there are some students that don't make it through the program because it's not the program for them.
Mhm.
Um, and that's another positive thing. If somebody comes in the first semester or so and realizes this is a lot more than I thought it was, this is not for me,
Yeah,
I might have that conversation with them and find out where their passion is, but they may discover they have passions for something else. Look, that's what happened to me, and I wish somebody had done that with me when I started. Um, I went into computers because I was good at math,
right.
and it was the big thing back in the early '80s. You either went to engineering or computers if you were good at math, because computer science was really blooming into a whole new discipline, and I didn't fit in. I had no passion for it. I still enjoy math. I love math and I love math puzzles, but to do that for a living and work within that culture was not for me.
Mhm.
And I wish that somebody had pulled me aside and said, your passion is more for hospitality. Your passion is, well, you love math, you love art. I loved architecture. Maybe you want to consider doing architecture when you all know I love theater.
Yeah,
But no, the mindset back then was you need to get a job where you're going to make a lot of money. Well, I got a job where I was making good money, but I hated going to work.
oh,
And it wasn't because of the people I was working with.
yeah,
It just was not what I wanted to do.
yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
So, how have students surprised you over the years? For example, with their creativity, resilience, maybe new projects, innovation.
That's a great question. How have students surprised me? It's changed over the years. Coming up here to Jacksonville, as opposed to having worked in the Orlando area and in Polk County area, there's an older crowd here.
Mhm.
I know you're more of a traditional student, and you already came to my classes with a degree. So you weren't 18 when you started working with
Yeah.
me, although you barely look like you're over 16,
Oh,
right?
thank
But we have an older crowd here. So what surprises me, what amazes me about the students is that connection to why they're here. I think there is more passion up front for coming into this. I think people are coming into this because some of the folks are older with a more realistic expectation. Um, Another thing that's happening is a lot of the younger students seem very well prepared for the college life. They understand the technology better
you.
than some of us older folks. And even though I was a computer guy, the technology keeps changing.
Well, thank you so much for so much knowledge, wisdom. It really means a lot for students like us to have a mentor like you.
Oh, I'm humbled. That that means a lot to me. That means a lot. Um, it it means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great answers. Love to hear them. So, jumping on to skills and strategies, what skills do you absolutely think are essential for new students coming into this industry?
So we get a lot of feedback from the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and the feedback we get is very interesting. Students who are going into the industry uh, often have the what they call the hard skills, the technical skills. So it's easier for me to teach you if we were running a front desk. If you're smart enough, and most people are smart enough, especially younger folks, for me to teach you how to check somebody in. You find their reservation,
Mm-hmm.
you click here, You click here, you click there, you take payment. You can get to teach somebody how to do the job. When I was working at Walt Disney World as a manager, I could teach people how to clean a room. I could teach people how to check people in. When I was in attractions, I could teach people how to open the attraction, run the attraction, what safety features to look for, how to close down the attraction, how to clean the attraction. What I can't teach people is the skills that really make a difference in the hospitality industry, and that's personality. That's emotional intelligence. It's how much your facial expressions make a difference. Do you have RBF? And RBF is resting blank face. The people who don't realize that when they're not smiling, they look mean. They look unapproachable. So the little bit of a smile makes a difference, or just being self-aware. Um, those are things I can't teach. So that's the skill that people need. They need to be self-aware. Another soft skill that is vital if in this competitive society, people go into work and especially if they're going out with a degree. Well, I'm ready to be the general manager now. I have an associate's degree. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. There have been people that have been working in the field for years that don't have degrees that may be in line for that kind of promotion. Having the degree is going to make you more competitive, even against people with lots of years of experience. But what are you going to bring to the table? So you need to volunteer for things. You need to disregard people who say to you, they're not paying you to do that. Yeah, but I'm learning something and I'm showing people that I can do a little bit more and I'm willing to do more. Another thing that is vital in this industry is to show up and show up on time. If you're on time, you are late. So if you're scheduled to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, get there at 7:30 in the morning, get there, bring your coffee with you if you need to bring your coffee with you. And when somebody says to you, how are you today? Don't say, well, I'm here. Get all that stuff out, or find the one or two people that you can count on to say, I'm really having a rough day, but I'll be fine out there. I just need to get it out and then turn around and get out there with the smile on your face. But you cannot allow anyone to see you being difficult to work with. You have to realize the impact that your personality has on the environment. Again, I could teach you all the technical skills. I could teach you philosophy. I could teach you theory. You want to talk about management theories? We could talk about transformational leadership, transactional leadership, what it means to be an autocratic, a bureaucratic, a laissez-faire leader. We can go through all of the theory that we want, but how are you going to use your personality to make a difference in the workplace? Whether you're starting out as a line cook, or you're starting out in housekeeping or at the front desk, what are you going to do to make a difference outside of just knowing how to do the job? And if you go with the attitude of, I'm just going to do my job, well, then just go ahead and do your job. But don't expect that you're going to grow in the organization if that's what you want to do. The other thing I want people to realize is that management is not for everybody, and nor should it be. Some people's skills and passion rely on being at the front line. Some people's skills and passion is for managing and training people. Some people's passion and skills is for the larger, higher conceptual pieces of a business.
What is your advice for how students can really make the most out of your class and any of their special projects?
I love this question. The reason for that is that I am one resource. And in one of my classes, we take students up to the school library, where the school librarian shows them all of the resources that are there in the learning centers. She shows them the math tutoring desk. She shows them the English tutoring desk. She shows them, brings them into a room, shows them how they can use the online resources that are available to you as a student at this school. I worked in two other colleges, and they have the same resources. Students need to take advantage of those resources. I can't force everybody to use these resources, but I can maintain the standards of the class where if you have challenges with things, to use those resources. Another suggestion I would make to students is know what the resources are and how to use them properly. So right now we're having this whole issue with AI. And you have both been in classes with me where I've had to chide the classes because some people are falling into bad habits with AI. So what are bad habits with AI? I'm going to write my paper with AI. I'm going to write my essays with AI. And I can tell when people are using AI. There's certain words that that person doesn't typically use. There's certain writing patterns with AI. So what I've done is I'll say something like, "Oh, Ashley, I really like that point that you made in your written essay. Would you explain that to everybody?" And I've had students say, "What point?" "Oh, no, I have to think about it." And I did it on purpose because
No, exactly.
yeah, I want them to know that you're not going to catch me. And so now I'm checking and double checking and holding people accountable to it. There are really good ways to use AI as a resource. If you need to spark creativity, if you are putting together a menu or a business plan. In one of our classes, we put together a business plan for a restaurant. So if you want to come up with uniform ideas. You want to come up with a name for the restaurant. You want to put together a format for the business plan, an outline. You want to take your work, submit that into an AI with the rubric and the assignment. And they'll say, "Oh, you hit the mark here, but you haven't met the mark here." So now you've got some unit that is checking for you to make sure you're crossing all those T's and dotting all those I's, using resources properly, checking your spelling, checking your grammar, because that matters in the industry. It just shows attention to detail. So that's a resource that's available to people. I just think because it's so new, we haven't gotten to the point where we're really truly teaching people how to use it properly because we're still learning how to use it properly. I will also say this. There's a lot of stuff that I'm reading online about professors using AI to give feedback to students. I can't do that.
Oh, wow.
I can't do that because now it's not personal. Now it's not personal. I need to format my responses to people so that they still feel like individuals. AI does not make you feel like individuals. I can tell when people write their emails through AI. So know what your resources are. Know who your resources are. I have office hours here every week on Wednesdays from 10 to 1, and hardly anybody comes in to say, "Can you check this for me?" or "Can we talk about this? Can we talk about that?"
For students who want to stand out in a competitive job market, what habits or mindsets would you think make a difference compared to others?
So some of these things we've mentioned already. Critical thinking. If you go in for a job interview, um, give reasons for what you're saying when they ask you questions. Listen really well. As we learned in the supervision class, the number one most neglected skill when it comes to communication is listening. And listening is not just a matter of what I hear, but what I process and what I see. If I'm speaking to someone and they're doing this during an interview or they're looking at their computer while I'm talking to them, I need to get their attention more. So be a really good listener. Use your critical thinking skills. I mentioned earlier being self-aware as well. I know I'm not a Ken doll. I, I'm not, he should rest in peace, Robert Redford, who just passed away yesterday. Nobody's ever accused me of being, the matinee idol. But I try to be concerned then about how I dress. Right? Have you guys ever seen me without a tie?
No.
No. And believe me, first thing that comes off when I get into the car is a tie. And I'm not saying that that is right for everybody, but I wear a shirt and a tie. I iron my shirt, It just makes me look a little professional. After 15 years of teaching, I started wearing my earrings to work because I think the stigma of wearing earrings is over, but I take them out for our dining room management class for the labs. So I shave every morning before I have class. I could go home on Friday. If I'm not coming back until Monday, I'm not shaving until Monday unless I have to. But I try to present myself a certain way because I think that that's a skill that I need to bring to the table. So what can you do to stand out? If you see that people are showing up for interviews and they're wearing nice jeans and a nice polo, put on a shirt and tie. Wear a jacket. Wear something. If you don't feel comfortable in a dress and a skirt, wear something else that would be considered professional attire. Really take that moment to look at yourself. Um, if you're sending out a resume, put out a cover letter. Not everybody's going to put out a cover letter. What can you do with a cover letter to make you stand out in this competitive field? Um, a lot of people think, and there's a lot of frontline managers who have been in the front line, right on the line for years, and they tell some of the students, you're wasting your time getting a college degree. I could talk to the HR directors of some of these big organizations, and they'll say, no, you're not wasting time. In fact, we'll look at the people with the degrees first. So getting a degree, getting a 2-year degree is going to make you more competitive, especially with everything else being equal, over the folks that don't have a 2-year degree. Getting a 4-year degree is going to make you more competitive over the folks that have a 2-year degree. Getting a master's degree is going to make you more competitive than the folks that don't have a master's degree. Looking out there and seeing which organizations meet your culture. What's the culture? Asking questions at interviews. Not just going into an interview and relying on them to ask you questions, but be prepared with questions. Questions like, what is the culture like? What is your organization's vision? What is your organization's mission? Oh, that's interesting. And already knowing the answers to some of these things. Well, that's interesting because this aligns with my mission. Using the proper terms, the proper words makes a difference. When you're writing something, a skill that you need to have, grammar check, spell check.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not texting someone, you're writing a professional message to people. And if everybody else is doing okay with their grammar and spelling, but you're impeccable grammar and spelling, who's going to stand out?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Could you share an experience where a student has shown unexpected growth in one of your classes?
Well, I did share the experience with the
Mhm.
one lady earlier, but there's a lot of students that were like that. We had a student that when he started, he was a culinary student. Even the way he spoke sounded very childish. Um, there was some there was some indication that he had talent in what he was studying, but he didn't have the social skills of of an 18-year-old, of a 19-year-old. He made a lot of silly jokes because he thought he was being funny and getting attention. But somewhere along the line between some of the other professors and me, we were able to get him to understand what being professional meant and to focus on the studies over trying to fit in socially. And in focusing on his studies, he began to fit in better socially. I could not believe this was the same person when he graduated. A completely different person. Um, that makes me very proud. And there's dozens of stories like that over the years.
Now, jumping to the future ahead, what do you think some of the biggest challenges will be following this next generation of hospitality leaders?
Uh, Remembering that technology is not the be all and end all. Technology is getting to run our lives more and more. I was kidding around with people when I was in college. I never got caught on my cell phone, right? Because we didn't have cell phones. But we're relying more and more on technology, and there's great things with technology. If you're going to run a business and you want to put a kiosk out for people to put their orders in and eliminate the face to face, you're not running something that's hospitality anymore. The competitive advantage in our industry has always been and will always be hospitality, and it's the connection with people. There's a reason why Publix, which is one of the more expensive grocery stores, is number one in this state, and that's because shopping is a pleasure.
Mhm.
And their employees, they're really good at hiring people, training people, developing people, and their staff stays there for years. So they treat their staff well, otherwise you see constant turnover at a place like Publix. And why are people willing to shop there? Because they treat people well. And yes, they have those machines where you can do the self scanning on your way out, but that's about it when it comes to all the technology that's in our face there. It is human based. So embrace the technology, learn the technology, and use it thoughtfully, carefully. That's where I see people are concerned or what we need to worry about in the future. Technology is great. Remember, I'm a
Mhm.
tech guy, I was a computer guy, but use it thoughtfully. Don't forget, this is all about human connection.
Definitely. Now, speaking on that, how do you think the industry is changing, and how do you think students can prepare for that?
So the industry is changing because a lot of organizations are using technology improperly, and there are markets for that. People love bells and whistles. Guests, customers love bells and whistles, but they'll come back to the human connection. There's a younger market that loves technology, but as we get older, we want the human connection. I remember one semester a student said that they don't even go out a whole lot, but they go to, because I always go with the philosophy and ask students, why do you go out to eat? And it's not to go out to eat. I mean, it's part of the experience, but why did you choose the restaurant where you ate the last time? Well, we went out on a date, or we went out with some friends, or we went out to celebrate somebody's birthday. Why didn't you do that at home? I have classes full of culinary students that cook amazingly well. Why don't you just cook at home? Well, because we like going out. So we're going out not just to eat. We're going out for an experience. So uh, we we need to remember that piece. So we are evolving more and more with the use of tech. Prepare for tech, stay on top of things, but stay on top of what trends are for people and what people like and what people want. And don't forget that human connection.
What trends in hospitality do you think will affect the next generation?
Um, well, technology. I just want to add one more thing about technology then, because I want to talk about how we can use it correctly for fun. I talk about a restaurant called the Blue Bamboo a lot. He did not pay me to say this, but he's an old friend of mine. Chef Dennis, has this robot that brings the food out to the tables. And when he first told me about it, I thought, is he replacing people with with robots? Because that bothered me, and he didn't. It's actually freeing the front of house staff members up to spend more time at the tables and to give people more of a personal experience. And the robot is fun. People enjoy seeing the robot. You don't take the food off of the robot, the server will do that for you. The robot is more of a safety thing as well. So when we talk about trends, technology, finding safer ways to do things, finding more efficient ways to do things, finding staff members in in new places, older staff members, non-traditional staff members. We're also a couple of years out of COVID, and COVID really taught us a lot of things, didn't it? COVID taught us that a lot of people in our industry were not treating people well. When we reopened after COVID, when the world reopened, you saw signs outside of buildings that said, we're not open on certain days, or we close on certain days or certain times because nobody wants to work. Do you remember what I used to say in class? I used to say, it's not that people don't want to work. People don't want to work for you.
Mhm.
So learning about management theory, putting it into practice, understanding that when you're a manager, your staff are your guests. So how are you going to make your staff members feel special? And it's not always about giving them more money. It's about supporting them, holding them accountable, training people properly, letting people know what the standards are, and holding everybody to those standards. So many people tell me that they expect me to do something different than the way that they expect other. They let people get away with things. Don't let people get away with things. Hold everybody to the standards, because you're going to lose your good people. So understand management theory. Get your education. Continuous professional learning. I'm still in school. I still take classes. I'm constantly looking for ways to improve my skills, and I'm retiring in the next 5 years. And I'll probably still take classes. But why am I continuing to take classes? Why am I going to conventions? Because there's things that I can continue to do to help me try to bring more value to the people that I'm serving.
Very, very true. There's always, you can always learn no matter what. What lesson or moment has really affected you and stuck with you in your teaching career?
Mistakes that I've made.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mistakes that I made, sometimes little ones. I don't think in my teaching career, I don't think I've made any huge mistakes, but mistakes that I've made. Sometimes in writing a syllabus, for example, I consider the syllabus to be a contract between the students and myself. And if somebody calls me out on something, then I'll go in and change it going forward. For example, somebody once said to me, well, you have the due date of October 15th. And that's what I wrote in the syllabus, October 15th. Now, my assumption was they understood it was October 15th while we were in class together, but they said maybe October 17th or October 18th. Yeah, but October 15th isn't for another 360 days. Like, I think there's some things that we could. So I learned to go in there and make sure that there's less opportunity for people to have question, or to be able to question what I've written in the syllabus. Another lesson I've learned is marketing. Marketing is the art and science of finding, maintaining, and growing loyal, profitable customers. And in order to do that, you need to know what your customers want. So if my students are my customers, I need to listen to them. I have completely changed the way that I have set up my classes in order to be able to have the students feel better about what they're doing, how they're learning it, but to make sure that they're still bringing in what they're supposed to bring into the class for conversations and discussions. I've restructured everything. We'd come in, we'd go over a chapter or two, you go home, you do the quiz, maybe some online discussions, and the next time you come in, we're on to the next chapter. And I've changed that by going back and saying, you do the reading and the quizzes first. So now if you've done the quizzes, even if you haven't done the readings and you've just looked for answers, these are terms and words that should be a little more familiar to you.
Mm.
I've also learned that my job is not to fail or pass people or give people grades. My job is to teach people. And so if I have a quiz, not the final, but a quiz, and I allow you to take it 3, 4, unlimited number of times, and you keep going back there, trying to get a better grade or to try to get questions that you hadn't gotten before, all you're doing is learning more and more. So to provide people not necessarily with the answers to quizzes, but to the concepts, and to get people to focus on what they're supposed to be learning more on their own, is just building skills and knowledge in a sneaky way.
Mhm.
Of people are getting it. Not everybody, and I'm still working out another lesson. There's still things I need to work out to try to make as many people successful as possible.
Very good. Very great answers.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Well, this is our reflection part.
Okay.
So what advice would you give a student who is about to graduate and start their career in hospitality?
Do your research and find an organization that will allow you growth, that will help you learn. There are smaller organizations that have limited growth potential, but you'll learn a lot. I'm not doing commercials for other organizations out there, but in the Jacksonville area, there's the Orsay group, and we have students that love their experience there, especially those students that want to move out in the industry, maybe run their own businesses or becoming a chef somewhere. You keep applying yourself there and work if you can get in there. You're going to learn a lot. I don't know what the future is of that organization, if they're going to continue opening up facilities and allowing people opportunities to be general managers or head chefs, but you're going to learn a lot from that organization. And so if whatever you put in is what you're going to get out from that organization.
Oh.
So do your research. As organizations like Marriott and the Hyatt, where you're going to have to make more of a name for yourself because they're larger organizations, but there's a huge future in those organizations.
For sure.
They're a little more political, and because there's so many more people, but you have more opportunity in shorter time to maybe move to different places and different roles. If I go
For
work
sure.
for a smaller organization, it may take me longer to get out of one role into another. But if I go work for Walt Disney World or Universal Studios or a Marriott, I could work with them in front desk and maybe have 5 or 6 different job opportunities within the front office role. And then I can move to another discipline, or I can move to another Marriott somewhere across the globe and continue to gain that kind of experience. But do your research, find out what organizations are going to do you the best. And if you need help, there are resources for you as well. I tell this to all my graduates, come back and see me.
Oh,
Get in
perfect.
touch with me. I'll work with you. I don't know everything, but maybe together we can find answers for you.
Yeah, perfect. That's a great advice. And now, as a reflection, was there a moment when you were in a classroom and you thought, this is why I teach?
Yeah, I would say that happens every single day. I feel so good when I get into my car and I drive home. I drive about an hour, hour and a half, depending on traffic, sometimes longer, to get home. And I feel really good every single day that I get into the car after I've had a class. Um, I mean, this makes me feel great. Yeah,
Definitely.
because of the conversations we have, because maybe that one person who was quiet spoke up a little bit more. There was a young woman in my class yesterday. It's a dining room manager class. It's a lab, and she didn't get a table, but she did a lot of work in assisting. Um, and she started talking more and more. And we joked around a little bit. And she said, "No, I'm still very quiet." She wasn't quiet yesterday. She spoke up like she was comfortable. That made me feel so good, amongst a
Oh,
million other things that happened in class yesterday.
wow.
But yeah, it's those tiny little movements.
Well, thank you.
What do you hope students remember about you 10 years from now?
God, I feel like I'm being interviewed by Barbara Walters. You guys are getting me teary-eyed.
That wasn't the point.
Yeah. No, if you're going to remember anything about me, I don't want you to remember about me. I just want you to remember the lessons. But if you're going to remember anything about me, um, maybe that I made a difference in people's lives. That maybe when you are running the the airline the airlines department for all of the flight attendants, right there you are. I'm trying to remember what airlines are still around. Delta?
Delta.
Yeah, okay. So you're at Delta, and now you are the vice president of flight attendants, and you're having a good day or having a rough day, and you just sit back. And Delta's known for having the best guest service, right? And just, Dr. Buchman would be proud, or what is it?
Event planning.
Event planning.
Director.
Okay, you're the
Yeah.
director of events, not for a particular Marriott, but for all of Marriott,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So there you are, and numbers are up and guest satisfaction's up, and you just say, Dr. Buckman would be proud. Or you have an employee that comes up to you and
Dr.
tells you
Buckman taught me that.
that, yeah, or an employee comes up to you and tells you what kind of difference you've made in their lives. And like that's what Dr. Buckman wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know for me, there's not many teachers and professors that really stood out to me, but you're definitely on that list.
That is,
Like having you as a professor in these last year and a half, 2 years has really impacted my life, and I really appreciate you for that.
stop.
For sure.
No, that's really
But,
lovely. I appreciate you guys very much.
We appreciate you.
Thanks.
And we thank you for joining us today and
Okay.
letting us talk to you and question you relentlessly.
That's my pleasure.
But thank you for watching, checking out the experience, and join us next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.